Here's a build to try, the Allied Forces. If you've been keeping up with me on Twitter, you'll already know that I've been a bit obsessed with World War II lately. This is because of RAID World War II launching in a little over a month and my undying excitement for that game. I'll be making videos about it for sure, but to tide me over until then, I've decided to make 2 World War II themed builds for Payday 2. This video is a build for the Allied Forces, meaning Britain, France, the United States, etc. Everyone who fought against the Axis powers, which is what the other build will be focused on. So, if you want to battle it out D-Day style while still remaining effective in combat and useful to your crew, this, my friend, is the build for you. It did take quite a lot of doing to make an effective build though, I must admit. The weaponry of World War II, while outdated, was represented fairly well through the means of the Gauge Historical Pack. So, I'll be using that DLC along with select features of other DLC. This means that crafting this build will require ownership of Payday 2 Ultimate Edition. Without any further delay, let's take a look at my skill points. In Mastermind, under Sharpshooter, I'm getting basic Staple Shot and Rifleman, and then acing Aggressive Reload. The armaments present in World War II were unsurprisingly rather slow to reload. Aggressive Reload will, in varying amounts, improve the reload speed of both of my firearms. Moving on to Enforcer under Tank, I'm gonna grab Aced Resilience and Transporter, Basic Shock and Awe and Bullseye, and finally Ace Iron Man. This is all very standard for an armor build. I guess it would technically be more, realistic to use a dodge build, seeing as full-body Kevlar suits weren't exactly in style back in the day, but from a playstyle point of view, armor just makes more sense to me. Moving on to Technician under Breacher, these skills may seem a bit surprising, but I'm going to get Basic Hardware Expert, and then Ace Combat Engineering, more Firepower, and Fire Trap. Landmines were, albeit in a comparatively primitive form, commonly used during World War II. However, the main reason to get these skills are the shaped charges. Demolishing bridges, railways, and roads was a very common tactic to slow down advancing enemies, and used by troops on both sides of the war. Now, here is where opinions, and thus your build, may vary. If you want this build to have Swan Song, you can skip this step. Otherwise, Ace Hardware Expert, Drill Sergeant, and get Basic Kickstarter. While I wouldn't typically associate advanced drilling with World War II, if we're going to be in the technician tree anyways, I feel it only appropriate. Regardless of whether or not you got drill skills, I'm going to stick around in technician under Oppressor to a steady grip, lock and load, surefire, and body expertise. These skills are again to improve my weaponry, namely my secondary of choice. Moving over to Ghost under Artful Dodger, I'm going to get basic duck and cover, parkour, and shockproof. Movement speed skills are a must-have, and basic shockproof makes you practically immune to tasers, due to the 30% chance to knock the taser down being triggered once every second while being tased. If you decided to take drill skills, this is where you'll run out of skill points. However, if you decided against drill skills, your last 12 points can be spent in Fugitive to get Swan Song under Revenant. Some players consider this skill a must-have, and while I'm inclined to agree, I feel it goes against the playstyle and mindset of a World War II build, from an ally's perspective at any rate. Still, if you really want Swan Song at the cost of having your basic drills, then well, here you go. My perk deck of choice will be Armorer, but this isn't a deal breaker, and you could honestly use almost any armor-oriented perk deck you like, Muscle being another fair option. I just prefer Armorer for the sheer volume of armor you get and the 2 seconds of invincibility when my armor breaks. Now, for my weaponry, the primary will be the Nagant Sniper Rifle from the Gauge Historical Pack modded as such, the Long Barrel, the Nagant Bayonet, a total ammo boost, and the Iron Sight. These mods are meant to make the weapon look and feel time period appropriate, but you could use more modern gadgets if you fancy. This sniper rifle was more commonly used by the Soviet forces than anyone else during the war, but still saw use by the rest of the Allies to punch through defensive lines. My secondary will be the Patchett L2A1 SMG, equipped with the long barrel, the tactical compensator, an accuracy boost, the extended magazine, and the solid stock. It would be more appropriate for this to be a Sten gun in place of the Patchett, but both weapons were similar in appearance and theoretical functionality. While the accuracy and damage are on the lower end, this weapon's ammo economy makes up for it. For the throwable, I'll be using throwing knives from the John Wick weapon pack, as out of these options, it was the only throwable that really seemed time and circumstance appropriate. My melee weapon will be the weapon butt to make use out of the Nagant's bayonet. This is more for style than anything, as without skills to improve them, damage-based melee are pretty much useless. Obviously, I'm going to be equipping trip mines and the Iron Man armor. If you want to go the extra mile, any greenish camo armor skin would do the job. And for the mask, while it's obviously up to you, I'll personally be using the Dawn Patrol helmet. And that, my friends, is the Allied Forces build. I'll demonstrate how to use this build in practice after the break. Welcome back. So, how does this build work? Well, rather carefully. The Nagant is a powerful sniper rifle for sure, piercing through thin walls and shields with enough damage to one-shot kill most enemies in the head. Although, tasers and medics will take 2 headshots on Deathwish, unfortunately. Before you comment it, I tried getting high-value target basic, but it was not enough to deal the damage it needed to. Regardless, iron sights proved to be an effective way of dealing swift, deadly blows in close quarters without sacrificing long-range lethality in any respect. As I mentioned, if you prefer to have a scope to this, you're more than welcome to do so. Place your shots carefully, as your supply lines are rather limited. The ammo pickup rate of the Nagant is rather lacking, as is expected for most sniper rifles. There are ways around this. If you see a chance to line up multi-kills, take it. The sheer damage and penetration of the Nagant will slice through skulls cleanly, and you'll earn back more ammo than you spent through drops. When meleeing with the Nagant out, thanks to the bayonet, you'll have somewhat increased damage and knockdown while retaining the weapon butt's instant strike speed. Again, this is more of a cosmetic feature than anything, but it is an effective way of softening up targets to take as prisoners of war. Seeing as the Nagant completely lacks a tactical reload, it's best to expend all 5 shots before reloading. Scoring a headshot kill will speed up the Nagant's reload speed dramatically for the next 4 seconds, bypassing one of the Nagant's major downsides. As for the other big weakness being ammo efficiency, well, you'll want to swap to your secondary when running low. The Patchet's perfect stability and lower end rate of fire make it a fairly easy weapon to control. However, the low accuracy will prove problematic for targets at range. This is where body expertise comes in, allowing you to aim for center of mass to more easily score kills. In close quarters, it is still preferable to aim for the head, however, to earn the headshot multiplier effect provided by perk decks. Admittedly, the default iron sights for the Patchet are, frankly, repulsive, but they are time period accurate. Regardless, feel free to slap a sight on there to make aiming at multiple targets in succession far easier. Scoring 2 kills within a mag is the Patchet's way to provoke a swift reload, and with an ammo pool that deep and pickup rate that steep, you should ideally never find yourself dry on 9mm rounds to pump out. If it does somehow come to that, throwing knives are an effective way of eliminating targets, even bulkier ones like bulldozers, for long enough to pick up some ammo pouches and refill. With enough practice, you can incorporate throwing knives into your play fluidly as a fast way of dealing with high health targets like tasers and medics. Trip mines can be placed strategically to defend choke points from invaders, and shaped charges can be used to clear the way for your crew to progress, or slow down the advance of the enemy. I had a video all about the ins and outs of trip mines and shaped charges. A link to that is up in the corner. If you have drill skills, obviously you'll want to set up any drills or saws your team needs to push forward, but this also means you'll want to stick to cover like glue. You don't have Swan Song to save you if you die in the middle of nowhere. If you decided to forego drill skills in favor of Swan Song, I'd still highly recommend trying to hold cover as long as you can, and only using Swan Song as a fallback. Swan Song abuse is a fairly cheap way of clearing heists, and it just doesn't feel right for the style of build. When you do have to break cover, thanks to Lock and Load Basic, you can fire off your guns while sprinting to, albeit somewhat inaccurately, deal with opposing forces. Overall, this build is a fun way to reenact D-Day in a modern setting. However, attempting to tackle one down will make your situation look more like Dunkirk. You're either forced to retreat or will die in the fight. Regardless, on difficulties lower than one down, this build can help help you push the Germans back, or at least the DC police force. Hopefully, this and my upcoming sister video with an Axis Powers build will tide you over until the release of RAID World War II. Thanks for watching, and take it easy!